What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down why tomorrow is going to be a very important day as we have CPI coming out and what the trust are suggesting, in my personal opinion. But let me just mention that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. So, anyways, right now the market got a very, very nice breakout because we got a nice PPI report. As a quick reminder, PPI came out before the market opened, and this is a good sign for inflation. PPI is the producer price index, and everything was below expectations, showing signs that inflation is once again not looking too bad or as bad as before. Now, I know that the data is not as, I would say, like honest as it could be. I know the data is very manipulated, so I'm not necessarily saying that the data is 100% objectively true. And I don't think that one CPI report really encompasses the entire economy sufficiently. I just want to say that because the Fed is looking at this data and because we have to use this as investors, I'm just going to continue to accept it and just use it as it is. So PPI data was good. The market liked it. That's why the market got a nice pump. And then in anticipation of CPI, there was a lot of optimism. That's part of why the market also pumped, in my opinion. So the question is, what's going to happen moving forward? What is the expectation for CPI and when is this coming out? Tomorrow is going to be Wednesday, August 14th, 2024. 1 hour before the market opens at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have CPI data. Month over month, we're expecting 0.2 to 0.3%. This is actually hotter than what we saw from before. So the expectation is a little bit hot for month over month. And then for all items month over month, we're expecting 0.2%. That's also above what we saw during the previous report. So we're expecting a slight increase month over month compared to before, but it's not necessarily that bad. I mean, it's very, very close to what we've seen as well, at least during previous reports. Now, year over year, however, we're expecting 3.2 to 3.3%. That's basically the same thing as what we got last time. And that's for core, by the way, that's for core year over year. And for all items year over year, we're expecting 2.9 to 3%. That's basically the same thing as what we got last time. So we're expecting year over year to be the same as before, and also month over month to actually show a slight increase. Could it be the expectations are kind of high, or are they going to be like kind of decent? We'll just have to wait and see. In my personal opinion, based off what I'm seeing, there's a good chance and most likely CPI is going to be aligned with expectations, if not below them, in my personal opinion, based off what I'm going to show you. Uh, After that, there's not really much else coming out for the day, but CPI is going to cause a massive move. So, why do I think the data is going to most likely be decent? The first thing worth mentioning is the fact that the last couple of reports since April have been, aligned with expectations, and there's a big downtrend in CPI. Now, CPI is just measuring the rate of change of prices. This means that it's still positive. So prices are still going up. They're still increasing, guys. Prices are still expensive at grocery stores when it comes to commodities and all these other different things. But the reason why the Fed is applauding what we're seeing is because the rate at which they're increasing is what is slowing down. The Fed is not bringing all prices down or anything like that. They're just slowing down the rate at which it's increasing, at least according to the reports. So they want that 2% target. We're not really there yet, but we are getting closer, at least according to this. So with this consistency, that's a good sign that this will likely continue. And you have to remember that previous data affects the current data. So because the last data that came out was not too bad, after we got a negative report month over month for the first time, that's a good sign that the data is going to be decent. On top of that, I just want to mention that we have gas prices. Gas prices were not too bad, at least for the month of July. In June, the average gas price in the USA was about $3.45 a gallon. That is for June. For July, it went up just a little bit by a couple of cents to about $3.48. So gas went a teeny tiny bit up. It's not really much. It's almost the exact same as what we saw before in June, according to the data. So that is suggesting the data will not look too bad. And then we also have crude futures, which is worth looking at. Crude futures is also showing a very similar trend. So what happened was in June, okay, CPI was at 2.98%. That's for year over year. And we saw crude oil futures with a price of about 78.71. Now, the July data is not out for CPI. It comes out for tomorrow, but crude oil futures went up just slightly. So that's a slight little teeny tiny increase, almost the same as before. So that's a good sign that prices will be very similar to what we saw during the previous month. And that could be a good sign. Now, I just want to note that right now, the market expects a 54% chance we get a 50 basis point cut and a 46% chance we get a 25 basis point cut. I personally think that this will be heavily dictated by CPI, so we'll be watching to see if there's a big shift in this. But we did see the 50 basis point cut probability go up a little bit thanks to PPI, and we'll see how CPI affects this. For earnings, as one reminder, we have some big earnings coming out very soon. Tomorrow we have Dole and lots of retail like Cisco, but for Thursday we have Alibaba, which is pretty big, Walmart, JD, and John Deere. Walmart is also another big one for the week. Lots of big retail come out. We also had NU or New announcing its earnings. Just in short, they added about 5.2 million new customers. They had good earnings, beating estimates when it comes to EPS. Revenue was not bad, and their guidance was pretty good in my opinion as well. That's why the share price is up just a bit, so not bad from New. Now, moving forward, the last thing I just want to account for is what's happening with the whole Iran situation. I know people are just thinking that this is very redundant, but I'm still seeing this on the headlines, and I still have to account for this. If there is a big attack, if it really does happen, just like how U.S. intelligence is warning us about, that's going to cause a big move in the markets. The market may dump. So just be prepared for this just to be safe. The dump may just be very temporary. If there's no attack that happens, as long as that doesn't happen, the charts, the technicals remains as is. All right. So I just want to make that very clear. And at the time I'm recording this video, there's no major attack. So that's still decent for the markets. And hopefully it doesn't happen. That's what I'm hoping for. Anyways, let's go back to the charts. What on earth is going on? It's very simple. The market looks bullish. Plain and simple. We're very, very bullish. We broke past all of our EMAs on the 4-hour time frame, at least the ones I use, and we're still making higher highs and higher lows. The daily looks very bullish as well for SPY, so we still look very, very strong. So make sure you watch 542 as resistance. If we break that tomorrow, we easily go up to 544 in my opinion. 544 is where we had that previous, very, very key level right over here. And if we break that, if we break that, we're going all the way up towards this previous support becoming resistance at 548. So I'll be watching 542, 544, and 548 as resistances. And if we end up rejecting, just hypothetically, okay, just know the levels. If we end up rejecting, the key support is 538. We got to hold that. If we don't hold that, we're easily going down to 535 or all the way down to about 528. So make sure you watch those levels very carefully. As of right now, SPY is looking bullish, and technicals suggest, in my opinion, we're going to at least 544. That is the most likely possibility looking at the way volume is developing, looking at the uptrend that's developing, and the fact that we're above our key EMAs. So I think we're most likely going to be going up to 544 plus, if not 548. But that is just based off technicals. That's just based off the charts. The charts are not always going to predict everything that's going to happen. We can't account for Iran, if there is some kind of retaliation attack or not. And they don't entirely account for CPI. We don't truly know what CPI is going to look like. So make sure you're prepared for anything just to be safe. I'm not 100% sure what CPI will look like. So I'm still very, very conscious of what I don't know. So it's very important to remember that. The charts look bullish, but we'll have to see what CPI gives us. For ES, okay, we're testing this resistance. We're actually at resistance on ES at 54.56, our 200 EMA. If we break this, we're going all the way up closer to about 54.80. And if that breaks, I think 5,500 is coming. That's going to be a big, nice move on ES. But if we get a rejection here, we make a lower high relative to this high, there could be a big move down to at least 53.80, all the way down there. There's going to be a big drop on ES if we get a rejection here. So it's going to be a big test tomorrow. This depends on CPI. From a technical standpoint, yes, it looks bullish. We're making higher highs and higher lows. But like I said, it depends on CPI. For SPX, we're holding above our 50 EMA at 54.10. As long as we hold this, okay, this chart is favoring upside. It looks like it wants to continue to push up this resistance, take us all the way up to about 54.50. And if that were to break, I think our next target is going to be all the way up towards 54.85 around there. I think SPX could be pushing very, very nicely. If we were to hypothetically lose 5,400 flat, our next support is going to be 53.63. Overall, we look more bullish, though. We do look more bullish, in my personal opinion. It looks like it wants to continue to push closer to the higher 5400s. That looks more favorable to me. Now, do I know if that's going to happen? No, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't truly know. It depends on CPI, but the chart still looks like it's overwhelmingly bullish for now. For Nvda, we look bullish. Okay, we have support at 115. If 115 breaks, look for 113 and then 108. If we keep breaking out and we hold above 116 tomorrow and we get decent data, we're going to be looking for basically 120 at least, if not higher, to like 123. What do I think is more favorable? Looking at the chart, there is no sign of weakness today. It looks like it wants to go up to 120, at least 120, if not higher. Nvidia looks bullish. It looks very, very bullish. So does that mean it's going to go up? I can't promise that. Depends on the data, but the chart is telling us most likely it's going to try to do that. So that looks more favorable to me and my personal opinion. For Bitcoin, make sure you look at support at 59,700. If we lose that, we're going to be dipping all the way down towards 58,000. If we're bullish, you're going to be looking for a test of 61,700. If we break that, there's going to be a nice pump coming all the way up towards this 63,500 zone. I think that Bitcoin looks like it's going to be pushing at least to 62,000, if not higher. So we look more bullish on Bitcoin. But whether or not we get that break depends on CPI. So far, we're making higher highs, higher lows, higher high, higher low. Are we about to make a higher high? The chart suggests that, but it depends on CPI. Tesla looks pretty good, especially after that whole conversation that Musk had with former President Trump. We got a nice move on Tesla as a result of it. I think that Tesla liked the reaction and the relationship between former President Trump and Elon. And then there's also some more good news that came out. I'll talk more about that later on. And then PPI also helped us pump. So all these different factors helped Tesla out. We're looking for a nice breakout since we have that inverse head and shoulders. The chart's very simple. Look at 208. If it gets above that, our target's going to be this 212 area. If that breaks, we're going all the way up to like 215 plus to much higher levels. And then, that's looking more favorable looking at the chart. But if we get a rejection, the imbalance at 205 is going to be key. If we lose that, we'd be dipping all the way down to about 202 and then 200. But I think if we lose 205, that's going to be a bad sign. There's going to be a risk of us coming all the way down closer to 200. So make sure you watch the levels I called out. But from a technical standpoint, Tesla looks bullish on the 4-hour time frame. Also, when you look at, let me just double check this, the daily looks very bullish on Tesla. It looks like it wants to go easily to about 212, around that area. So Tesla looks bullish. This is suggesting we might try to fill a gap up here to 216. I really like the setup. It looks like it's trying to rebound. So yes, we look bullish, plain and simple. It depends on CPI, yes, but the chart does tell us upside is looking more favorable. For NQ, let me double check this. 19,000 is our resistance, also 19,225, our 200 EMA. If that breaks, we're going all the way up, in my opinion, towards 19,600. If we reject, we're going to be looking at not only 19,000 support, but our key support at 18,700. If that breaks, then we turn back down. In my opinion, the 4 hour is looking pretty good, and we're looking like we want to be pumping all the way up to about 19,225, if not higher, to these imbalances. So we look bullish on NQ. That's my honest assessment. We look more bullish, and I think the chart suggests that upside is looking more favorable. For the QQQ, if we were to reject here, I'd be looking at 462 as key supports. 460 is going to be our first support if this fails us. We're going back down to 454. That's going to be the more bearish case, at least 454 or lower. The bullish case is if we break 464, we're going all the way up here towards about 472 to 472.5, around there. So we look more bullish. We made this higher low right here relative to this low. We had this low here, came up, made a higher low, and we're trying to push. I think this chart is favoring 464 at least, and possibly a break all the way up towards the 470 area. So yes, QQQ looks bullish from a technical standpoint. Does that mean it's going to go up for sure? I can't promise that. Depends on CPI. But for now, it does look like it's going to go a little higher just based off technicals. Aapl looks very strong as well. If we break past 221.75, our next target is going to be around 223.5. If you reject and lose 220, we're looking for a dip all the way down towards 218. So I think that we're making higher highs and higher lows. And we're going to likely try to push up towards the 223 area. So we look a little bit more bullish on Aapl. We're trying to push, so watch and see if we continue. There's a good chance that's going to be the case. For Palantir, Palantir came down a bit and now is trying to rebound. Look at $31 as our resistance. There's a good chance we're going to be approaching that. If you reject, I'm going to be looking at 29.06 as key support. If that fails, we're going down to 28, which is pretty funny. Very, very simple levels. But Palantir looks a little bit more bullish. Why? We had this low here, making higher highs, higher lows, continuing to uptrend. And this wick is going to be acting as a pivot. So I think we could be approaching that. This is where we're trying to pivot towards 31.16. So we look more bullish on Palantir, in my opinion. For Supermicro, we look pretty good. I called a bounce yesterday, and that's exactly what's happening. I think that as long as we're above 550, this thing is going to be trying to get back up to 600. We also have resistance at 580. So if we break 580, look for 600. If we lose 550, we're turning back down. This is favoring like it wants to push higher. We'll have to see on this though. It depends on CPI, but it looks pretty good. Rivian is looking pretty nice as well. Uh, it's been on a bit of a downtrend, but now it's just barely holding the supports. Not looking that great. I do like the setup though. That's why I said it's nice. I meant the setup is really nice. It looks a little bit more bearish in terms of its setup, but there could be a temporary move to the upside depending on CPI now. It held support again around this 13 area. If we lose 13 flat, there's going to be a dip all the way down to about 12.25. If we break and try to bounce, look at 13.96 as resistance. I think this might try to rebound a bit towards 13.96, and we'll see if we reject. But overall, there's a downtrend. You're making lower highs and lower lows. There could be another pop coming because of CPI, followed by rejection. So it's a downtrend, but there might be a little pop tomorrow. SoFi is starting to turn. It got a little bit of rejection only to get bought back up again today. With CPI coming out, it's going to have a very big effect on the Fed's policies, which will affect a lot of financials out there, especially like SoFi. So as long as we hold 6.61, I'm going to be looking for 6.81. If we lose this, we're going to be looking for a dip all the way down towards 6.4. My gut is telling me we're going to be going up towards about 6.8. I think we're going to push a little higher from a technical standpoint. But if we don't hold 6.6, we'll turn back down. We'll see what CPI brings us. The chart does favor upside. What's interesting is I wasn't really liking the setup on IWM yesterday, as we had kind of like a double top leg structure, but I said to watch the levels just to be safe. And because of PPI, we got brought up again. We're still at resistance at 208. So now it's looking more promising. And I just wanted to say that we had to get that balance. I was talking about this yesterday. We had to get that balance, and we got it, luckily. We got the balance on the IWM, which is a great sign because this bullish wedge is maintaining its structure. That's a good sign. This suggests upside is looking stronger now. We had to get that balance and we got it. So great job for IWM. If we break above 208, I'm going to be looking for not only 210 but much higher levels like 212. To be bearish, you want to break this low here. So this would trigger like a change in structure. If we lose 204 now, we're going back down towards the low 200s. But this chart is suggesting upside is more favorable. We're most likely going to be looking for the 210s looking at this. So it looks quite nice. AMD looks a little bit more bullish. We got to break out of the structure as well. I was talking about how it was trying to uptrend. We need to break past 145 to remain bullish. And if we lose 138, we turn back down. This is suggesting 145 plus is coming. ARM is looking more bullish. Look at 125 as resistance. If this breaks, we could be pushing all the way up to this imbalance up towards 130. And if we lose 118, we'll be dipping. This is suggesting upside again, all the way up towards 130. For coin looks a little bit more bullish, forming a nice wedge as well. But we have tough resistance at 200. If that breaks, look at 205 and then eventually 210. If we lose the support here, basically at 190, there's going to be a bigger dip towards 182. So we got to hold support, but this suggests that 200 plus is coming. Amazon's looking pretty bullish, got a nice uptrend right over here. I called out yesterday that 171 would likely come in for bullish when we break and hold above 167. That's exactly where we went to. So if you're bearish, you want to see it lose 167. If you're bullish, you want to see it break 171. We're in the middle right now, but this chart does suggest it's going to test 171 tomorrow. Maybe try to break it to get back up to this previous. So this level right here is the previous support, becoming resistance at 173.6. And break that, we're going up to about 175. So we look bullish overall, but we'll see if this level holds. The structure on Meta on the 4 hours looking pretty good. Let me fix one thing for you guys. So this is a nice accumulation structure, right? Kind of resembles Wyckoff for those who believe in that, but it doesn't matter. I'm looking at support around 527 and also at 525. If we lose 525, look at 520 and then 512. So there's going to be a big drop if 520 fails. But if Meta breaks this resistance, I think we're heading up towards this level right here, the 535 area. I think that's going to be our target, at least 535 plus, if not higher. We look bullish, so we'll see if that ends up being the case. Microsoft is more bullish. As long as we hold above 412, we're favoring a move for 415, then eventually closer to 420. If we lose 412, looking for 407, we favor upside. For Google, we look more, we're kind of in the middle. We're trying to uptrend, but it's not looking as convincing to me. I need to see it hold above 166. If we hold that, I'll be looking for that gap fill for 168. We came just shorts today. And if we reject and we end up losing 160, 163. I'll be looking at this imbalance towards 161. We still look bullish though. For GameStop and AMC, I'm going to be super quick with this. Look more bullish. If GameStop loses 22.19, we're going to be dipping. If we hold that, we're going to be pushing for 22.8. As long as AMC is above 5, I'm going to be looking for basically 5.3. DJT got a nice, interesting move after yesterday, a big rejection off our 20 EMA, but there's going to be a reaction after CPI. We're actually below this key support right here. From a technical standpoint, it might be dipping towards 23 before it tries to bounce, so it might dip a little bit more in the pre-market before anything. The VIX is getting a rejection. We're approaching support at 17.35, so we'll see if it hits that and bounces or not. It's still bearish looking, so we'll see. The 10-year is going to make a big move depending on the data. It might dip more if we get a good CPI report. It dipped thanks to PPI, which is a sign the Fed's going to be more dovish. And then the dollar, it's dipping amidst some good data. We'll see if the dollar dips or not tomorrow. Depends on the data. But guys, the charts look bullish. Straight up just bullish. The majority of the charts look very, very bullish for the markets right now, approaching CPI. I'm not a fortune teller. I don't know what the data is going to give us for sure, but I'm just going to say this. We do look more bullish. So we'll see what the data gives us. I'll be back tomorrow before the market opens to give you guys another update. Until then, thank you for listening and peace out.